show you for thumbnail. Do you think when the developers of the Street Fighter series were trying to think of a name for this guy, they were sitting in a boardroom and they're just like, I'm coming up with a blank. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel, especially today for the simple fact that we are reviewing a much older piece from PCS, formerly known as Pop Culture Shock Toys. Now they're called PCS, which I believe stands for Premium Collectible Shit. And if you're a follower of the channel, you know that we've been looking at Street Fighter statues all month long. Now there's a little bit of storyline behind this. Is originally I was going to sell all my Street Fighter statues because I'm actually semi-retiring from collecting. You can actually check out that video right here. I got in a new statue from Prime One Studio, this Ryu. Yep, that's how I say it. Your mom told me she likes it when I say it that way. It's not the only thing she told me she likes me to say. And I thought it was unbelievable, so I've decided to keep the line. But nonetheless, I haven't reviewed quite a few of these statues that I've had for a very long time. So I thought I'd go ahead and do that. So again, a big thank you to you guys, because a lot of you have probably seen this statue for a long time, but you tuned in. So this is Blanka, or however the hell you want to say it, from Street Fighter. Specifically for me, it was from Street Fighter 2, one of my favorite Versus games growing up. We would always play it in the arcade, and then we got extremely excited when it came out for Super Nintendo. He is from Brazil, and he's a very creature-esque guy. And he was also one of my favorite characters to play. You can kind of see a theme. The characters I buy in statue form are ones that were my favorite to play. He could actually create like a ball of electricity. He could roll himself into a ball and shoot across the screen. If you knew what we called his special moves, you could do some real damage to your opponent. Now with that being said, back when I was playing video games in the day, you had to figure out his special moves. We actually got video game magazines, because there was no such thing as the internet.
What the fuck is the internet?
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
And I've owned him for quite a while, and there is one big thing I absolutely hate about him, and if you've been watching some of these other reviews I'm doing, you're going to know what it is already. Now we gotta wait for him to turn around so we can get into the concept. Alright, so let's dive into concept of this piece. And remember, when we talk about concept, let me define a few things. Concept is, does it match the source material, if applicable? Does it tell a story? Does it stay true to the character? Now, at the bottom of this is what I hate, the museum-style bases. Now, this is just a personal preference because some people absolutely love these. I think they're boring. I do think they look classy, but that's not what I'm going for. And I really hate when I mix lines where some are museum bases and some are elaborate. And that is the case here with my Street Fighter collection. A few of them have these boring bases. But what's really cool about Blanka here is they really show his animalistic instinct with a small addition, and that is actually the chain here. So it looks like he has actually been cuffed because he's a wild animal. And he was actually a human, supposedly, abandoned by his mother and raised by Amazons. I think it was Amazons. But as you move up, he is in a museum pose, meaning he's posing for a picture, and he's very fierce. That's what I like. It shows the fierceness. He's growling. It almost reminds me of his winning pose at the end. When you beat an opponent, your player will do a number of things. One of his was kind of doing this and roaring up to the sky. You see him doing that. His clothes are mixed media, which means they're fabric. The rest of him is sculpted on. We'll talk about during paint and sculpt. He's very buff. He is a shorter stature guy, and we will measure him in a second. And then again, like I said, he's kind of roaring in the air, maybe roaring in victory. So I like it a lot. I think they almost took a scene from that video game. They put it in 3D form here in front of us, but it's not very complex either. It's very simple. and honestly, that makes it a little boring to me. So I think it's a 3 out of 5, which is a solid concept, but not extraordinary. You ever wonder, should you say extraordinary or extraordinary? Kind of like soda and pop. We have family staying in my house right now, and one of them called it pop last night. I wanted to punch her in the face. Of course, I used to call it pop, but I deserve to be punched in the face quite often. Plus, I would never punch a woman in the face. I would shake the shit out of her if I had to. Alright, design is extremely simple on this piece, but they did offer 2 different versions. So while we're not going to do the unboxing and assembly, I will let you know the portrait is separate because there is a switch out portrait option. And the body is separate. That's really it. Now, unfortunately, with a switch out portrait, there is a horrible side seam right here. Obviously not a fan of that. But here's the 2 different portraits. So this one with the roaring portrait is the exclusive. I believe. It's hard to tell because this is such an older piece, it's hard to find information on it. And then the other portrait that just comes with the regular is this guy right here, which I am not a fan of at all. He went right back in the box. And again, I might have those 2 switched, but I do know the regular version only comes with 1 portrait. Now they did make a Player 2 variant. This right here, not a fan at all. To me, my Blanca is green. Blanca. I use it interchangeably, like wife and bitch. Some quick measurements for him. His deepest part is about 8.5 inches. His hands stick out a little bit more than that. Widest point, you're looking a little over 12 inches. And the tallest point is right under 17. So as I said, he's a short-statured guy. This is a 1/4 scale statue, meaning a real-life version of him would be 4 times bigger. And I like that he doesn't take up a lot of room. Now this is PCS's older piece. Quite a few years ago, they launched a new Ultra line of Street Fighter pieces, which have more elaborate bases. So this is the new piece they have coming out. Of course, I like the base much better. However, I do not like the actual character. So design, again, I think it's a low 3 out of 5. Nothing impressive. Paint and sculpt, again, I'm kind of on the fence about for a number of reasons, but I think it's better than some of the other categories we've already discussed. So let's dive in and check it out. Base, simple, black matte finish, looks good, has the traditional ridges on the side. Again, it is classy, it's just not for me. I like my statues more elaborate, I like them to tell the story, and I don't think a museum style base does. Really quick on these shackles here, they are plastic, they look plastic. Sometimes you can cover that up with a decent paint job. So I'm not saying they made a mistake of the material, but while the paint job is clean, it still doesn't take away that plastic effect or feel. Now, with his skin, obviously it is mostly green. You get kind of a Hulk vibe going on. There's the typical shadowing that you see in between the muscle indentures. And speaking of the muscles, I think they did a really nice job. Trim guy. Very muscular, but very trim. Never gets any donuts out in the Amazon. And they just did a great job. I really like it. Even where he's like kind of bending over in the back, they show the arc of the muscles there. You can see some veins briefly built in. So I think that's a win. Even his fingernails look great. I like the glossy coating, almost like an enamel coating. And they go from this darker color to more of a brown. Almost a hint of orange, which is kind of like his hair. I think his hair is a huge miss in my opinion. Specifically his body hair, it just looks stupid sculpted on the way it is. Now granted, this has some tiebacks to the actual game, so I do understand that, but even down here, that looks horrible in my opinion. I think it's an absolute huge miss, and I don't want to say it ruins the piece, but it doesn't do it well. On his feet, very animalistic-like feet, a lot of the same comments about the toenails that we talked about with the fingernails. Now they like to use what we call mixed media, which is just a fancy word for fabric. So his pants are not sculpted, but I like how worn and torn they are. I think they could have done a little bit more damage in between, because they're horrible at the bottom, horrible at the top, but nothing in the middle. Now, as you move up to his portrait, that's kind of, like I said, why you buy this piece. They did an okay job. On the inside, underneath the tongue, it almost looks like there's no connective tissue. Kind of a miss there. I like that his teeth aren't pearly white. He does have these fangs on the side. And the eyes, they did a decent paint job. They do look individually painted, which is nice. What's interesting is you kind of see almost a dirt effect on his face that you don't see elsewhere on his skin, so I'm not sure how much I'm digging that. His hair, again, the strands aren't differentiated very much, but I do like his hair on top a lot much better than his body hair. A lot much better. Here's some more body hair we missed down here. But how it's kind of faded back like that, very reminiscent of the game. I think they did a nice job choosing the orange colors mixed in with some reds and blacks just streaking to the back. So overall, kind of a mixed bag on this guy. Not bad, but we're also comparing him to some of the standards of today for new pieces, like that recent Ryu statue that I have. But I think he does the job that you need him to for this particular character. But I think there could be so much better concept out there and just really detailed. I'd love a custom group or someone just to redo, especially Prime One Studios. I would probably buy that immediately if I like the concept. But so some hits and misses on this older piece. Starting with the paint, I think the paint is better than the sculpt. Like I said, it's very clean, which I appreciate, and it seems to stay true to those colors in the video game. So I'm going to go ahead and give the paint a strong 3 out of 5, almost a weak 4 out of 5, but I don't think it's that good. Sculpt is quite a bit weaker. Like I said, I absolutely hate the hair. The chain and stuff down here is plastic. It looks plastic. I think his portrait looks good. I think the musculature looks good. The hair looks good, so it's also a 3 out of 5. I hate to be so boring, but it's kind of the statue's fault. We're not going to talk about value on this, and again, it's very hard to get information, but the exclusive, they made 375. I don't know how many of the regular. I would assume they made more of those, maybe 500 or 600. Player 2 variant, probably a couple hundred. Retail price was around $400, if I remember correctly. Nowadays, you can see them selling for that or less, because as I've talked about in some of my previous videos, PCS pieces, most of them do not seem to hold their value. And also, this is one of the reasons I am not selling a lot of my PCS collection. I would sell like 12 statues and probably make $4,000. Where if I sell 12 Hulk statues, I'll make $15,000+. And believe it or not, the government allows me to keep like half of my money. Now, does he have the X Factor? Kind of a stupid question. He does not. He is not a 5 out of 5 statue. I think if my attachment to the character wasn't as strong as it is, I wouldn't even own this statue. But I think it's a low 3 out of 5. It's a decent statue because there's not a lot of choices for this particular character, and I think he fits in my collection well, and I think my collection would be missing if I didn't have this character in there. So that's why I own him. Plus, I got him for way below retail, and you do get what you pay for. That's why right now you're thinking this content should be so much better. You didn't pay anything for it. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. So thanks for tuning in, especially since it's an older review, guys. Got some really exciting new pieces coming up, so make sure you've not only subscribed to the channel, but you've hit that bell notification. Hit a like, please. It helps the video. At least do it for this guy. He's so ugly, he needs something. Take care. Talk to you soon.